Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening. Tonight we are going from Manchester Airport in the UK. We're flying down in the Boeing 737-800 NG ZIBO mod to London City Airport. I hope you enjoy the flight. I'm looking forward to it, and we should have an estimated flight time about an hour. 1 hour in the air, possibly a bit more. As you know, if you have seen London City Airport before, you know it's a challenging approach, extremely challenging actually, and it'd be quite steep depending on what runway we're gonna land on. So here I'm outside the 737 aircraft. I've already done a quick look around. It's just going sunset now, so just going past dusk into night. So it's perfect time to do a flight, I thought, and it makes a difference to do it at night rather than a day. I did finish the other flight the other night from, of course, we did London to Brussels and then Innsbruck, which was extremely challenging, but it was a good flight overall and I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. So we're going to hop in the cockpit. We got the jetways here, 2 of them. We're in a bit of a strange space. I think we're in a 747 or 777 parking space, but nonetheless we're parked here. So let's go ahead and hop in the cockpit. So as you can see, we're going from cold and dark. I've downloaded the flight plan as usual. If you didn't watch my last video, we can download the flight plan, put it into the FMS plans folder in X-Plane 12, and then simply download it into the FMC. So we're going to go ahead and do the standard startup. I'm going to try and do everything from the cockpit today. We've already seen outside the aircraft, so I'll show you one more time before we go back in. You can see the 737-800 NG. We've got the Irish tail identification there. So we're Ryanair 244 tonight, and we are going on the List 2 Sierra departure. Anyone that's flown from Manchester, either as a pilot or a flight sim enthusiast, will know that the List 2 Sierra departure is one of the most used departures, and it's certainly one of the more well-known departures in the UK. And of course the arrival into London is also well known. I think it's the Kiddle arrival, the Kiddle approach. So we're doing, of course, standard departure procedures. Standard instrument departures and standard arrivals. So it's SIDS and stars. We're going to cruise at 19,000 feet. Estimated block fuel is about 6.2, so 6,200 kilograms. Cost index of 80. With only 147 passengers on board, so not many people tonight going from Manchester to London. I have to say it's a little bit nippy outside. It's a little bit cold. It has been sunny and warm, but the weather's dropped now. It's going into the evening, so we're going to start the aircraft. I'm going to do it all from the captain's seat. So we've got the aircraft on. We're going to turn the lights on. Emergency and standby powers on. And of course the APU. We're going to get the aircraft started up as soon as possible. Whilst the APU is... there's a low pressure signal. Whilst that's prepping, we can do the passengers and fuel loading into the small computer at the side. So as you see there, APU of course is starting up, no issues. So we'll go back into fuel and balance, and we'll put our passengers, so only 147. Cargo, now I haven't checked cargo, so I'm going to try and load the FMC. We might have to load the IRS first, and then the flight plan. I was going to say, if we can load it onto the flight plan, the FMC, excuse me, the FMS, whatever this thing is, then maybe it will fill out this information for me. I'm not too sure if it will or not, because I've closed my flight plan, so I'm not sure how much cargo we need. I know we need 6,200 fuel, so we can put that in now. See if we can put 6.2. Yeah, so that'll work. Cargo, of course, will wait. There we go. Let's get some power and let's turn some lights on in the background. Get the cockpit alive. Because we're doing a standard style from cold and dark as usual. And the IRS. So align on to the left, and then when it goes white, we'll switch it to navigation. If you've seen me before, you'll know the procedures. Navigation, and then the same on the right side. The IRS system just aligns the heading indicators and GPS system, so it brings all of these systems to life. We do the enunciation check course that one passes speed test, over speed test. Do have to wait a little bit for the store warnings, I've told you before. So estimated on the IRS, probably about 8 or 9 minutes is standard. Let's go ahead and close the cockpit door. Okay, so 8 minutes. That's usually the standard time it takes to start up. We're going to check our power, APU and things. Lights are on. Let's turn the... so you might notice you can't see the light thing here to adjust it, but there is one just hiding around the corner. Of course, we still got the score code from the last flight there, 1000. So these cab utilities and passenger seatbelt sign thing is usually on automatically each flight. We'll stick a fuel pump on there. We have got about 3,000, just under 4,000 I think, of fuel already. So wait for the IRS. Try and recall my flight plan online and see if I can find the cargo for it. If we can find the amount of cargo, we can simply enter it and we don't have to wait. So click on the flight plan. Okay, so it's come back up pretty easily. So it's saying we have 15,000 kilos roughly of payload and 3,562 of cargo. So let's go ahead and enter that. 3,562. Activate. We want to get everyone loaded up. I think we might have had a success with the jetway as well because it's connecting. This might be because they want an airport where it works. But that's really reassuring that it's just connected prior to the passengers being boarded. So I'm going to stick the seatbelt signs and things on and these smoking signs. See what happens on there. So fuel will be first, so let's go ahead. Fuel truck is coming to us. Payload and things are there. Okay, refueling is taking place, so it'd be interesting. So if this jetway stays connected, then we know that Manchester Airport has a working jetway for the ZIBO Mod 737, so that's always good to know. And I only just found out this evening that the X-Plane 12 has got a new version coming out very soon, or apparently it's out now. Not sure what the changes are, I'll have to check. I haven't had any updates on the game. Okay, great. Hose is connected, he's starting the ground refueling. There's some cleaners in the background, I don't know if you can hear them, they are pretty noisy. Banging around, despite the cockpit door being closed. I'm going to keep that closed. We don't need to communicate. There's the food, of course, catering. I'm not sure why we've got catering. Such a short flight, you probably wouldn't. Let's stick our navigation lights and do some system enunciation checks. On the right side, recall. Left side, recalled. And of course, test that both ways, up and down. Yep. All system is illuminated, all warning lights are lit. So that's a pass. Go down here, we check the cargo fire. Should really check the APU before we start it. Of course, the extinguishers of the fire bottles, fire extinguisher bottles. Now, transponder can stay on standby for now, or we can stick it to. We can stick it on if we want. Okay, we're still waiting for the IRS. 4 minutes, so in the time we can do some more checks. There's not much to do. Maybe check if the windows weren't so dry, we could check the window wipers. Of course, we're going up to 19,000 feet, I believe it is. Change the pressurization of the system to 19,000. We'll get the ATIS information, that's what we usually do. No VATSIM tonight, no online ATC. I had a check and it's absolutely packed at Manchester Airport. So it probably would have been difficult to get a word in sideways. Okay, so Manchester ATIS is 121.98. There we go. Let's get that information on the pressure.
Transition level, flight level 060. Advise on initial contact you have information Sierra.
Okay, transition level 060.
Information Sierra, 1600 Zulu. Arriving runway 05 right, 05 left. Departing runway 05 right, 05.
Okay, we're departing from 05.
0 degrees 7 knots, variable 060 1.
It's a little bit quiet.
Visibility more than 10 miles. Sky clear. Temperature 10. Dew point 1. QNH 1024. Transition
1024 on the pressure. That's quite high pressure, so I thought it was a bit chilly, but it's still high on pressure, so that's good. Hopefully no issues on over flight. Okay, fuel is done. Let's tune into the ground, and I'll put the waypoints in. Of course, we're in Ryanair. Flight number is not 35 today. Our identification is Ryanair 244. And flight number is 244. So arriving at Echo Golf Lima Charlie, and 19,000 feet. Now we can enter this other information in a second. Once we've got the IRS aligned, we can recall the flight plan, and then when we record the flight plan we can type it in. Although I know it now, I know what it is. It's the List 2 Sierra departure, and of course if you want you can copy it from SimBrief as well. So it's a List 2 Sierra departure down to the not the Kiddle approach, my mistake. We're approaching into a different one. On 1 Charlie for London City. I'm going to copy and paste that now. You can see there it is. So we fire that with ATC. Let's wait till we get off FMC program before we get clearance. And as you can see, passengers are boarding. So great success. The jetways worked. Passengers are actually coming through to the aircraft as they normally would at the airport. I've flown from well, I've flown from many times. I've not been on the jetway, so I suppose it just depends on what kind of aircraft you're in and where it's parked. Come on IRS. So 1 minute, and in the meantime, welcome in to new and old viewers, and I hope you enjoy the flight. Let me know what your favourite plane is. Let me know how you find the 737-800. This is the new generation version, so you'll notice that it's got standard winglets on it. Standard winglets, whereas the newer 737 MAX has, of course, advanced technology winglets. So a variety of differences in the aircraft. Estimated departure was supposed to be 9:15, 9 o'clock, but we've set off early. I've started streaming early, so we'll be able to get there, get out of Manchester Airport in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, IRS is aligned, so let's go down to the FMC and initialize position. As usual, we want to initialize it from the IRS. You gotta wait a few seconds after copying and pasting it. There we go. Now we can verify the airport is Echo Golf Charlie Charlie. Haven't checked what gate we're at. Usually there'll be a number in front of you, but there's nothing there. I cannot see a number, so we're going to do a little cheat and go outside the aircraft and have a look on the numbers. So we're at number 29. We're at Jetway 29. Now you don't have to do that. You don't have to enter the numbers. You can just simply skip that step. It's not essential. Cool. Okay, so if you remember, we go to the index, navigation data, flight plans, and it's come up with the flight plans that I've downloaded. So we want Charlie Charlie to leave. Let me just check that. Echo Golf Lima Charlie, so Manchester to London, back to the index, back to routes, and then put that into company route and activate it. So before I do that, we do the standard standard flight number, activate, execute, and as you can see it's loaded in. Let's see if it's brought in with it the proper departure procedure. I can see a list over there, but I can't see List 2 Sierra departure. So it's not doing the entirety of the downloaded plan, which is A bit of a shame, but I know where the departure is. List 2 Sierra. It's got everything else. It's got the airways. It's got the on. And then we need to enter the approach as well. So it's 5 left for departure. Simply go on departure. 5 left. Now I have done a few of these. In the Baron I did the Asmin 1 Sierra departure. And in the bigger planes it's usually list 2 Sierra. So I found anyway. Execute legs. Let's just double check. I can see there's no brakes on the map. Small brake there for our arrival. Arrival 1 Charlie. You can click that first and then it'll come up with the runway. Execute. Back to legs. Just make sure there's no kinks or breaks in the line. So you see there, Jacko, and then there's a blank space. We copy, paste. Okay, so this is kind of one of those tricky approaches. There's not really a set plan there on the FMC. Bit of a strange one actually. Double check the runway we're landing on. So it's saying 09 left. So we got to go according to the map. We have got to go out a little bit to the coast and then come in. Yeah, so this is that tricky approach over London City where you'll be flying over the buildings. Yes, welcome in Z&J Adventures. Great to have you here. It's good to be flying this evening as well. So we're just programming the flight management computer now. Just program the routing. We're actually pretty much ready to go and get our clearance, and then we're ready to taxi out. So we change the MCP first. So its transition is 6,000. We're going up to 19,000 on cruise. As usual, if you're new here, you'll know the passengers take a while. So let's go ahead and get all the ATC and things sorted.
Manchester, Ryanair 244. Hello, Boeing 737-800. Request IFR clearance to London City.
Ryanair 244, clear to London City, routing as filed, climb via Lima, India, Sierra, Tango 2, Sierra.
There's that list 2 Sierra departure.
QNH.
Okay, so 1106.
Cleared IFR to London City, routing as filed.
That's really handy. Not too dissimilar to the last frequency squawk code that we had. Now we need to calculate. We got a clearance. Now we need to calculate the weights and things and takeoff speed, so performance initialization. Usually we'd calculate it after the passengers have loaded. If you calculate it now, it's going to change. We do know a few of the things though. We know the fuel, we know the cost index. Let's go ahead and put that in. So planned fuel of course is 6.2. We have 6.2 on board, so that's handy. Zero fuel weight will come up. We'll recalculate that in a second. Reserves, we don't really have any reserves on board. Cost index is 80, so considerably more than the flight we did on Friday. As you can see, if you keep clicking it as the passengers board, it will adjust. Let's go ahead and welcome everyone. When we can do it, then we can depart, hopefully. So it's really handy list. On X-Plane you have the option to turn on ATC boundaries. So we know here we're in Manchester airspace. Of course you have an option here for wind as well, so surface wind, and you could choose a wind at different altitudes. I've kept the surface wind on because it's extremely helpful. You see there we've got quite a strong headwind of 13 knots, slight crosswind. We're departing from runway 5 left as well. Quite the challenge. Although to be fair, if you should fly from Manchester Airport, it's definitely one of the busiest ones. I've been there myself. I've also seen live streams, of course, from Manchester Airport. It's definitely one of the major airports in the UK. Let's go ahead and set rejected takeoff. Flight directors on. And we're going to set the heading course to... No, we can set it to the runway, which is 05. or we can set it slightly off to 06, which will be our course on departure, so always worth double checking. And of course we'll set the heading to the exact same thing. %, passengers, so hopefully the jetway will disconnect. It seems to have disconnected. There's no lights here, there's no illuminations, which means all the doors are closed. So we go back and... Okay, thank you very much. The attendant has just given us that information. Let's go ahead and welcome everyone on board. Let's go ahead and recalculate. There we go.
Everybody's closed up outside. We're just waiting to get some of our performance numbers.
Yep, so the captain announcement there is accurate. We are in fact doing the performance as we speak. So we're going maximum takeoff rate 26k, standard 5 degrees of flaps, 4.5% trim. So slight trim down on that. And then V1, V2 and V3. VR and V2. 133. Autothrottle armed. Now the autothrottle is not going to do the takeoff speed, it's going to do the vertical navigation speed, which will be programmed in the FMC, of course. So that's programmed in. Let's do our cruise altitude. 19,000, so 190. And then it's coming up with actual wind there, which is very, very useful. Execute that. Go back to the route, legs. So if we click vertical navigation, when it takes off, it's going to go to 19,000. Following the altitudes here, we've got to be quite low on the departure. And then it'll follow the speed as well. Okay, let's go ahead and get our taxi clearance. Good departure, by the way, nice and on time.
Request taxi from 294 departure.
Ryanair 244. Information Tango current. Runway 05 left. Taxi via Echo, Delta, and Alpha. Hold short of runway 05 left.
Information Tango. Runway 05 left. Taxi via Echo, Delta, and Alpha. Hold short of runway 05 left. Ryanair 244.
Let's get pushback first. Let's do better pushback. So this is an add-on, it's free. Let's go ahead and get pushback and start the engines.
Cockpit. Plan acknowledge. Call me through the menu when you're ready.
We are indeed ready to depart.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
So let's put our beacons on to let the ground crew know we're about to start the engines. So we're taxiing runway 5 left via Echo, Delta and Alpha. And here comes pushback. Gives us time to start the engines nice and early. Of course it would help if the bleed air was on. Huge mistake that I've made many times before. So the turbine's powering up, fuel flow is on, but we'll turn the fuel introduction lever on in a second. There we go.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Okay, he's ready to connect, so reconnect. Okay, just about a successful start then, engine 1. Let's go ahead and start number 2. Same procedure. Wait till it builds up to N2 20% and then introduce fuel via the lever on the central control. Or center console. So there's 20%. Introduce fuel.
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake.
Right, pushback is initiating.
Starting pushback.
We have a pressure rising, temperature increasing. As long as those are increasing, that's all that matters. I have had an issue before with low oil pressure. In fact, I had no oil pressure at all and the engine wouldn't start, so potential bug right there. Systems, elevators, ailerons, rudder, and of course speed brakes. Deploy 5 degrees of flaps. You can see they've got symmetrical deployment, leading edge flaps transitioning, leading flaps are extended. And if you can double check it, if you want to double check it, sorry, there's a reference up on the top here which is lighting up green. Pretty good.
Operation complete. Set parking brake.
Awesome. Pushback is very efficient on this, and use back pushback.
Disconnecting toes. Stand by.
Just about ready to part. I'm actually quite excited about this flight. I love flying from Manchester to London and vice versa. It's a relatively short flight as well, of about an hour. So we're ready to go once he's disconnected. I think it does disconnection automatically. See, the aircraft is being lowered. Let's click disconnect anyway. So he should go away, and we're good to taxi now. First of all, packs on, isolation valve automatic, APU generators to engine generators.
Cell is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the left. We'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Thank you very much. So we switched the air supply to the engines, we switched the generators to the engines, so we're safe to shut off the APU. Okay, let's go. Echo Delta Alpha, I believe the taxiways are to 5 left. List to Sierra departure, cruising at 19,000 feet, 147 passengers on board. Quite the evening flight, I might say. You can see down on the screen, TCAS is not on until we get to the runway, and then we turn, take off, TCAS on, and weather radar as well.
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
Thank you very much. The flight attendant's been very, very verbal today, giving us some good feedback and good readouts. So I'm fairly familiar with the airport. It's straight down now to the right and then straight down to the runway. So he's given us Alpha, he's not given us Alpha 1 or 2, he's just said Alpha, which is to the end. Alpha 4 on the right. If we slow down a little bit, we can see that if we carry on, we'll be on Delta. And then if we want to double check, we can press T for taxi line. So we already know we're going down Alpha. But if you're unsure, press T and it will show you the way, providing you're using the X-Plane 12's ATC. Just double checking for any other traffic. Clear on the left, there's no traffic, and we're clear on the right, so we can continue ahead. So we're taking the right here, we're carrying down Alpha. We're probably going to get handed off to tower in a moment. Let's say contact tower for departure or something like that, and that'll give us time to do our pre-flight, pre-takeoff checklist. Double check the taxiway, so we can see that on the right we've got Alpha. Both at Alpha, I think, at this point. Alpha straight ahead, this is Alpha Foxtrot 1. Quite a few holding points at Manchester Airport pre-departure. We double check the T, confirms we're going in the right direction.
Ryanair 244.
There we go.
Contact Manchester Tower 1187-630. Goodbye.
Contact Manchester Tower.
118630, Ryanair 244.
Ryanair 244. Goodbye.
I'll give us some time to do the takeoff checklist. Let's go ahead and put ourselves here. Okay, parking brake set. We can reduce these background lights. I'm keeping them up because the stream could appear quite dark without them. So let's go ahead and contact the tower just prior to the checks. 118630.
Manchester.
And we'll go ahead and stick some of our lights on, so stick strobes on.
Ryanair 244. Manchester Tower below. Hold short of runway 05 left. Report ready.
Hold short, runway 05 left. Will go. Ryanair 244.
Weather radar on. Transponder to TARA. Ready for departure.
Ryanair
Continuous on ignition.
for departure.
It's
pretty much us ready.
Runway 05 left. Cleared for takeoff. Wind 080 degrees 7 knots.
Runway 05 left. Cleared for takeoff. Ryanair 244.
You see there we got a nice strong headwind, which is fantastic. So at this point we would have already gone through the we would have gone through any issues with the code by then. We would have gone through, you know, engine failure procedures and then need to go back round for a landing. We already discussed it, and we would have just discussed the altitude, the speed and the ILS frequency that we would have used to return to the airport should we encounter an issue. As you can see, the flashing, the strobe lights are on. we're clear for takeoff. We're clear straight up to 19,000 feet. So 40% N1. Just let the aircraft speed up a little bit and let the engine spool up. N1 set.
knots.
80 knots. V1, rotate.
Positive rate.
Positive rate, climb, gear up. Good steady climb out.
400.
Fantastic view there of north of England. Flaps to 1.
1,000.
I'm going to hand fly the departure. And of course flaps to 0. We maintain about 10 degrees of pitch. Neutralise the landing gear and turn the rejected takeoff brake off. So N1 speed is kicked in for the climb. Keep the landing lights on until we're clear of the airport. We can turn the turnout lights off though. Keep the ignition on until we're past about 5,000 feet. Okay, we're squawking the wrong code.
106, Ryanair 244.
My mistake. Nice steady climb out there, maintaining a pitch for about 250. We've retracted the flaps. Just trim slightly. Maintain about 25 degrees bank on the turnout departure. Departure turnout.
Contact Manchester approach 121.355. Ryanair 244. Goodbye.
Okay, we contact the approach. That'll hand us off for the rest of the flight, I think.
Manchester approach. Ryanair 244. On wing Sierra Tango 20. Altitude 4,400. Climb. Flight level 190.
Ryanair 244, Manchester approach. Hello, radar contact.
Ryanair 244.
Okay, we're going to reach transition altitude in a minute, which is 6,000 feet. You see we maintain a very good steep, not a steep, but fairly good turnout there, which is good. Okay, now we can set the standard pressure on both sides. Still hand flying the departure, and we're going to turn landing lights off. Ignition to off as well. You'll notice I've kept the logo lights on so we can see that Ryanair tail when we get down to London City. Well trimmed aircraft at the moment, not needing much input from myself. We'll get to about 10,000, I'll engage the autopilot. Just double check the yaw damper is indeed on. Got power to the generators. So I'm maintaining, I'm trying not to climb too quickly because we're supposed to actually be about 5,000 feet. So we're actually above, well, we're supposed to be above that, but we're supposed to also be below it as well for a certain time. As you can see there, 4,000. So we're already well in excess of it. I'm going to go ahead and engage the autopilot. As you can see, we've already got lateral navigation and vertical navigation engaged. So you'll just follow the route. Should follow the route up to 19,000. That's what we have programmed as the cruise altitude. But as I say, it's coming up. The FMS is saying we should be at 5,000. So what I'm going to do is click on alternate altitude. It climbs straight up. There we go. Now I haven't done the window heat on, and pitot heat as well. Cabin's fairly warm. Not bad for a Sunday evening. Again, it's only descending because we're supposed to be below those altitudes. Once we get past list, it should start climbing again. So that's my mistake. I flew the departure slightly high. Any second now. And it'll climb up to 19,000. There we go. Should be anyway. Something going on with there. The FMC's programmed 19,000. It's cleared the cruise on altitude for some reason.
Contact London Control 11874880. Goodbye.
Don't know why that happened.
London Control 118.480. Ryanair 244. Goodbye.
Yeah, very strange. We did enter it and it's deleted it. Okay, what did he say? He said contact London Control 1184 or 18480.
London Control. Ryanair
Of course, transponder to on for flight. Everything else is done. Passengers can stay in the seat for the entirety of the flight. It's very short.
Ryanair 244.
Just adjust the lights, that's one thing I don't do. It doesn't do it automatically either. I haven't noticed. So cabin lighting, we'll turn it down, and we should really have a night flight sleep mode so it's nice and dark. There we go.
We ask that you also please remember to use caution if opening the overhead bins. To prevent injury, articles that may have
Ooh, look at that wing flex.
now reaching out to
Blimey.
to use the privilege
I love it. I absolutely love it. The wing flex, the passenger seating position. This is a custom view, by the way. The cockpit, the plane. Oh man. Anyway, I'm going to step away from the cockpit. I trust the aircraft not to crash. Same 323 is our cruise speed. For this top of climb, TC is top of climb, and we're cruising along till top of descent, which is not for quite some time. As you can see, we're actually going out, almost like we're going out to the Clacton area and then back in for London City. It's a very, very challenging approach. I've said it before, a very steep approach into London City. So we sort of sweeping down over the skyscrapers and things. Let's change those bright lights to dim. Okay, I'll be right back. Enjoy the flight.
4,000 to go.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just returned to the cockpit. I didn't want to rush away for too long. Just make up myself a quick drink. Well, I noticed the ATC's given us a call already. So we contacted London Control. They've now confirmed expect the on 1 Charlie departure. Sorry, on 1 Charlie arrival for ILS approach runway 09. ILS approach runway 09. So we're already on the on. This is a waypoint we're coming to in about 13 nautical miles, and then we'll be descending at the top of descent, of course, and decelerating later on. We don't have to worry about it just yet. We are quite some distance from it. Everything else is looking pretty good though. The flight's going well. Still very warm at 19,000 feet. It's +4 Celsius. Let's just double check our landing speeds and things. We want to make sure we're all prepped for this difficult approach. Although, to be fair, if you watch the Innsbruck landing the other night, not only did I nail it, but that was also very challenging as well. Okay, he's given me a different, he's given us the arrival, but he's given me a different approach than I was expecting. So let's go ahead and change the arrival. Not sure why he's giving us a different one. ILS 09, and then let's check. There we go. So we click odd. So Oscar Delta Lima 1 Juliet on there. Execute. Now we go on routes. Make sure you turn it to plan and just make sure there's no brakes in it. You can either use the FMC or the map. Either way it will show a brake if there's one there. Okay, that's a long and convoluted approach. Quite complicated at the end actually. We're going to be circling round the airport almost like we're going downwind. So that'll be downwind and then turning onto final. Okay, so it's not quite the steep approach I expected. That's a lot better. A bit easier to fly. So we're descending now. We can descend he said descend on 1 Charlie arrival to flight level 090. Let's just check where that is. We're on it now. Well, we are on it now technically, so we should be descending before the top of descent. We'll let the FMC control it for now, and then if he radios back we can go down. So he's telling us to maintain flight level 20,000 simply because our FMC tells us to, but then we're descending back down to 19,000 anyway, so it's pointless doing it. what I am going to do is start preparing for the descent. So we'll check 090, and when it gets to the top of descent, actually, to be fair, we have got quite the distance to go, so let's just leave it. You can check the chat as well. Welcome in if you're new here. Добро пожаловать на мой канал. Good to see new faces. Trying to find the perfect balance of lighting for you. Usually a little bit pixelated on YouTube. Hopefully not, this is back in 60p again. Okay, so one thing I didn't check before departure was brake pressure. It's telling us on the co-pilot side to reset the FMS. Brake pressure is here. You can either pressurize it using hydraulics or simply take the brakes off and put them back on again. So we're landing 09. What I'm going to do now is check the course to 09, the landing. Head into 09, just about in advance. Okay, so we have an extra ATC there. I didn't hear that come through on the radio. Must have been away from the keyboard. So basically, I sent it again. 119. Basically onto the approach frequency now. 730.
119.730. Ryanair 244 Divine. London Heathrow approach. Ryanair 244. Hotel Oscar November 1 Charlie. Altitude flight level 190.
Ryanair 244, London Heathrow approach. Hello. Radar contact.
Ryanair 244.
Just changing the altitude there. We are supposed to descend down to 9,000, so I've put it at 9,000. When we get to the top of the descent, it'll do it. The speed's good. Shouldn't recall that to the landing really, but nice and early. So he's cleared us straight down to 9,000. I'm not sure why, because it's saying 12,000 there. We don't need to be down to 9,000 till Jacko. Now I have flown the Jacko before. Smaller plane, it took a lot longer. Nonetheless, I'm familiar with the route straight across London. According to our actual map, we should be over the London area. Yeah, there's London control. You see we're going out to the coast and we'll come back in. Not very strong winds I might say, and then back into London City down here somewhere. Just zoom in and find it. So got London Heathrow there. Okay, 1 second. There we go. Proper descent instructions to flight level 120 instead of 9,000. Fantastic. So we're almost at the top of descent anyway, but he wants us to go down slightly earlier, which is not unusual to be honest. And yeah, it's work of NZ&J Adventures. Again, saw Paddington down there. Yeah, I wish. Paddington Bear. Yeah, we were just looking at where London City Airport is. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it there. So we're going to be circling around, then coming down to 09. The steep approach is actually over to runway 27, the opposite end. Alright. Level change. So we might as well follow the instructions he's given us instead of going at the top of descent. No need to slow down at the moment.
Ryanair 244, maintain speed 200.
There we go.
Maintain speed 250.
Fingers crossed that the ATC works. Seems to be working so far. We've also had a successful jetway connection. Absolutely loving it. go ahead and make an announcement, descent announcement. Let the passengers know we're on our way to landing. So there's the deceleration point. We've already decelerated to 250. We probably don't need the vertical navigation anymore. The ATC is going to navigate us in using vectors and probably speeds as well. They've done it quite early, I have to say. Usually on Viceing they might not do this till a little bit closer, maybe till Jacko. As I say, the ATC tonight is absolutely packed, so we decided not to do it without Viceing. Set the auto brakes, set it to 2 as standard. Let's double check the airport, make sure we've got the ILS frequencies and things plugged in. Coming down to 09. Yeah, I've got an NDB there. Smaller aircraft might need that more than me. So there is a glide slope, 111.15. Let's tune that now. 111.15. So it's not done it. 111.15. Of course, for the co-pilot as well. Landing altitude, we need to get the altimeter or altimeter, so let's request that.
1,000 to go.
Approach. Ryanair 244. Request QNH.
Ryanair 244, QNH 1023.
QNH 1023. Ryanair 244.
Okay, 1023 hectopascals. Tonight's pressure in London. We'll leave it on standard until we get below 10,000 feet. Pronunciation recall is successful. VREF, we haven't checked our landing speed, so let's go ahead and check that now. So 137 knots. So VREF plus 5 typically. So we landed about 142 today, which is nice and steady. Navigation radio. We've just set that. Auto brake's been set, so that's the descent procedure complete. As you can tell, I've done this before. Just giving the speed there 210, that's typical approach speed. I have to say it's quite early, so even before we got to the downwind leg, we're barely at the airport and he wants to slow down. He probably gets to descend to 9,000 feet as well for Jacko. Final approach height should be about 2,000 I think. So it's saying 9,000 as the final. There we go. 090, just on time, so the ATC is working nice and well tonight. 9,000 feet. Love a change. As I was saying, the steep approach, so it's still going to be steep at 9,000 down to... There is no transition there to 2,000 feet, so it's straight in from 9,000. It's saying 6,000 there. That's still a fairly steep approach. We'll probably start initiating the flaps as well at this point. Introduce one set of flaps. So we've passed Jacko. Just past Jacko, so clear down to 2,000.
1,000 to go.
And he says we're clear. Descend via the Oscar Delta Lima 1 Juliet to 2,000 for ILS runway 9. Fantastic. Going to be a steep turn onto final. You can actually just see just about see London City, even though it's pitch black. Just about see it. It's off to our right. We're over the water at the moment, probably over the Thames. I want to double check that right. That's the ODL 1 Juliet approach. You can check out lags as well if you want. So odd leg. We're on the right one. Don't need to keep checking out, we're on the right one 100%. So let's go ahead and start to check some more things off the list so landing lights can come on. I'm going to turn the turn off lights as well. We want it nice and bright in London. No taxi lights yet. Ignition can go on continuous when we're about downwind, I think. There's a checklist, of course. I do know most of it off by heart. We've done the ground proximity. We just turned the landing lights on. Passenger signs already on. Yeah, let's change the pressure to 1023. And the ERMP has been updated. another airport there, just off to the right. I think that's another London mainstay, just on the outskirts. It's Manston Airfield, Manston Airport. Let's clear the map up a little bit actually, so we can see what's going on. Just about to see London City there. In case you don't know what's going on, you don't have any clue about planes, the ILS approach is an instrument landing system. The airplane can align with the VOR localizer, and of course it can line up with the approach glide slope, and it means the plane will land itself, or come as close to landing itself as possible, and the pilots take over a couple of 100 feet above the ground to land. Appreciate this is not a standard time for my streams. Nonetheless, glad to have you here as well. Look at London, looks very pretty at night. In the 737-800 NG we get there in relatively short time, but the ATC slowed us down at the end. Not too much of a bother, it's been about an hour's flight time estimated altogether. When we turn onto we'll be turning right now. This will be onto downwind for runway 09. I'm going to start deploying some more flaps. Well, we'll ignore that because he's already cleared down to 2,000 feet, which is what we're doing now. I'm going to deploy 5 degrees of flaps. Don't worry about the height, we are 2,500 feet in the air. We have got the correct pressure set as well. Off in the distance, of course, is London Centre, or London City, London City Centre. Just as we turn around, you can see, you should be able to see the, if it was daytime, you'd be able to see the famous landmarks, O2 Arena and things like that. I'm going to turn the lights off. I appreciate it's not very bright, but we need to be able to see what we're doing. Can't be distracted by the inside lights. So he's just given us instructions to follow the FMC, waypoint heights. A bit contradictory, the ATC should know he's given us clearance down to 2,000 for the approach. Wow, look at that view. Amazing. So he should know he's given us clearance, so he shouldn't keep contradicting himself. I have to say the buildings do look fairly realistic for London. As I said though, it's pretty much the same anyway. Europe has the same sort of scenery, although Paris, France has custom scenery. It seems the buildings are very French-like. So I think the lights for the runway should be appearing within the next, I'd say, 2 minutes. Negative, we're going to continue with the approach.
Ryanair 244.
Should really just follow the FMC the entire route instead of the ATC. Now we need to switch the cabin lights to landing. There we go. You can't alternate between takeoff and landing, but it's the same for both of those. Basically, just makes the cabin nice and bright so other planes can see us. Especially important in London because it's extremely busy with ATC and other aircraft.
Ryanair 244, expediting your climb.
Expedite climb. Ryanair 244.
The nice London City in the distance. Pretty sure that's London City, which means we're very close to landing, approximately 5 minutes. Let's try and do that announcement again. Let's prepare for landing, see if he announces it on the cabin. There's nothing coming through yet. One more time. So you may have announced it already, or maybe a bug. some significant turbulence. It was light winds on the map, showing light winds. I mean, it's only saying 4 knots, 8 knots, but quite considerable turbulence. We're flying along the Thames now, London, for London City Airport. Estimated time for landing is probably 5 to 10 minutes this rate. It's taking quite a while. HC slowed us down considerably for this. There's the landmarks in the distance, just about illuminated. Of course, the Eye of London Eye. I think that's Westminster, and then you got the bridge, this big pointy building. I can't really see too much scenery from the distance, but it's looking pretty good. We're not going to be landing in that direction, so it's coming down for the steep approach from number 9, number 09 for ILS. Anyone who's familiar with the aircraft knows that the FMC gives you all the information, gives you all the speeds. Of course, 142, so 136 is 40 degrees of flaps. We add 5 onto that, so it's 142 knots for landing. We're probably going to need all the flaps. I've never seen or known a Boeing 747 to land, or 737 to land without 40 degrees or full flaps. Back onto the legs. We're nice and early, nice and low down, 2000.
Ryanair 244, climb and maintain 3000.
Climb and maintain 3000. Ryanair 244.
Ryanair 244.
Just ignore the ATC. We're doing well. Gotta push through some of this turbulence though. It's quite bumpy on the way into London City. It's all that, probably all the pollution from all the planes. Double check our systems. We've got no annunciation lights, no warning lights. There's no warning lights in the centre panel. We've done our system recall. Let's do it one more time for good luck.
Ryanair 244, maintain speed 185 knots.
Okay, it's decreasing our speed now, 185. We'll have to do a convoluted turn at the end, so TODB, TODBI, quite a steep turn there on the final. From FF09 we can check the distance to the runway. So from final, we don't really have much time. We'll have to put the gear down, I suspect, before we even get onto final, so we'll have to put it down by TODB. Yeah, we'll stick the landing gear down at just after TODB. And the flaps as well, so it'll give us an indication. I've already got 5 degrees of flaps, but it'll give us an indication on here of when to add more in. Of course we can check the speed there, so really we should have 10 degrees now, probably 15 degrees, but we don't want to do it because it'll slow us down too much. Landing lights on. Everything else is looking good. My coffee hasn't spilled yet. It's gone a bit stale, but it's not spilled. There's London Airport, London City Airport, one of the most challenging approaches in the world. We are doing the steep approach, so there's the London Eye once again. We did see Westminster, and I think Buckingham Palace will be in there somewhere. London's been modelled very, very well on X-Plane 12, and so is Paris for that matter. Extremely good looking city to fly around in. Absolutely beautiful, it really is. It's amazing. Look at this. Look at this incredible scenery. Beautiful lights in the evening and night time. Trying to find some more famous landmarks to point out. Oh well, nonetheless, that is amazing to see that. There's Westminster, of course, where all the politicians work. Okay, now we're getting close to final. I'm going to start deploying more flaps, so 10 degrees of flaps. We're doing it nice and early so we can slow down enough. Let's take the gear down to about 160, or 5 nautical miles from final. I did say Todby, but we could probably hold off the load leg for a good deployment. There's that turning on to final. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look outside your right window, you see a lot of buildings in the dark. You may be able to see something very, very recognisable on the left side any moment now. That really is amazing though, that detail, level of detail. They've even got the bridges in the correct places. I suspect they have the Tower of London down there as well. I'll have to search for that another time. So this is the steep approach I was telling you about, straight over the buildings and then on to final. Okay, we're within 5 nautical miles. We're going to deploy the landing gear, or extend the landing gear, so help to bring the speed down. He's not actually cleared us for the ILS approach, so hopefully he clears us any moment now. We'll maintain 185 on speed. It's going to be a steep descent down to the runway. There we go. Ryanair 244, report established on localizer runway 09. So he's just about giving us clearance. There's the runway. This is that steep approach, so we're going to slow down now to landing speed, which is 142. Double check that on the speeds. Yeah, 142. And we're going to start to deploy some more flaps. Stick our approach switch on, so that should intercept the localizer. There's the localizer now, the pink diamond. So hopefully it's going to slow the descent towards the runway. It's going to be very, very steep if it doesn't. There we go, just about descending there in time. I'm going to deploy the rest of the flaps as well, although to be honest we're very, very high. Ignition should be continuous. This is a typical approach, by the way. This is not abnormal for this airport. Deploy the rest of the flaps. The plane's doing a very good job at the moment of maintaining that glide slope on the localizer to 09 loop. Negative, you just said report established on localizer. We're about to land, so let's report on localizer. Maybe it'll clear us to land that way. We might not be able to do that, we're already too close to the runway. Doing very well on the approach, we've got 2 PABI lights, red and white. Let's just land the plane first. Let's go ahead and disengage the autopilot. Don't worry everyone, this is a normal approach. Nice and steep into London City for a steep sharp pull up at the end there. There we go. just about touching down. Okay, we should have put maximum brakes on. We have to apply brakes manually as well. Whew. I think next time we'll definitely put maximum brakes on. That was very close. Let's go ahead and do a U-turn. Taxi lights on, landing lights off. Make sure we're nice and slow as well. We don't want to piss the ATC off. We can just taxi straight off here and then taxi back down the runway. Unfortunately, we didn't get our call into the tower at the end, so we landed without permission. And the water seems to be pouring onto the taxiway. That has to be a mistake there with the scenery, because there's a sheer drop. There's a massive drop there. The ground is not level at all. Okay, so there is actually a taxiway here. We're slanted on it. We can ignore the ATC. We can turn the transponder to just normal on mode. Track to the entirety of the flaps. So that was a very good landing. Welcome to London City, everyone. If you'd like to let me know, so we turn leave the ignition on continuous. Only joking. Let's go ahead and turn the strobe lights off. So yeah, I don't know if they updated the scenery, but there's their taxiway here now for London. Because usually I would taxi back down the runway to parking, but there seems to be a taxiway here. Okay, speed brakes. Let's check the wing. We've recoiled or recoiled the flaps in. Okay, ATC is a bit confused. It thinks we're still in the air. Let's go ahead and just tune out. There we go. So we have to find it's a bit of a free-for-all on parking. Seems like we've got a few planes. Vueling.com, British Airways, and of course probably Air France down there, and smaller jets. We made it in one piece. That's the main thing. The aircraft is a pleasure to fly as usual. Ryanair livery looking very, very good. Flown by semi-master of planes. Not quite there just yet. Go ahead and park here. Don't think there is any jetways at London City, so we'll park next to the BA. Standard shutdown procedure. We'll cut the fuel from the engines. We do it relatively quickly. Stick the beacons off. Lower lights. Everything can come off. So I mean, it's already gone off because we didn't switch the APU on. Typical. That's the typical mistake. Easy to make though, since we're closing the flight. We technically don't need to turn the APU on. We could just turn everything off. Literally everything. We should turn the IRS before it starts beeping. There we go. Turn it off just as it beeps. Cause pitot heats, window heats. Trim air was never on for that flight, unfortunately. Hydraulics for the systems off. We don't need bleed air on. Can isolate that and turn the packs off. No need for external power. We can stick the emergency lights on actually for the meantime, just to give people some light when they get off the aircraft. Standby power, DC, off. So passengers are unloading, onboarding, and cargo's unloading. Very successful flight. If you check outside, the passengers are indeed onboarding. That was a fantastic flight, actually. Very good. Let's see how good our landing was. Approach rating. Okay, so approach rating wasn't good, and that's probably because it was a steep one into London City. Well, we needed a rate of descent which was high on the final. We needed to be a little bit off on the descent because it's a steep one. It doesn't give a landing rating, unfortunately. It just says approach rating. Landing performance, perhaps. I'm not sure, but it's been a pleasure as usual. The 737-800NG, just an absolute, it's just a pleasure to fly. There's no other way of describing it. It's always going to be one of the better planes, along with the 777, of course. My personal preference. And if anyone's ever flown on a 737 like this with Ryanair, then know it's even more exciting in the cabin. So thank you very much, and we say very well to Ryanair 244. Good to see you again in the next one. Take care.